Mortlach was the name of the abbey and village founded by St. Malog in the 7th century. Dufftown eventually replaced that name, but James Findlater, Donald McIntosh, and Alex Gordon decided to keep the Mortlach name when they started up a distillery in 1823. It went through numerous owners and was no longer operating when George Cowie got it up and running again in 1853. George and his son Alexander were successful enough to build Mortlach's reputation as a blending malt, and in 1923 Cowie sold it to John Walker and Sons, and from there it became DCL and today Diageo. When the 12-ton mash tun is running, hot water is continuously running over the malt grist to wash the starch out. The water temperature of 64 degrees Celsius increases to 72 degrees and then to 88 degrees, producing 54,000 liters of sugary wort. The 6 54,000-liter washbacks are made of Oregon pine. The wort in the washbacks is cooled between 16 and 18 degrees Celsius depending on the outside temperature. The worts are fermented from 50 to 60 hours to get a meaty, spicy wash. Mortlach has one of the most complicated distilling processes in the industry. It has 2 wash stills at 7,500 liters and one at 17,500 liters. The first spirit still is 8,000 liters and the second is 8,500 liters and the third is 9,000 liters. Both the big wash and the big spirit still work together, producing a double distilled spirit. The second and third wash still produce an intermediate spirit that now is sent to the Wee Witchy spirit still, which now produces the 2.81 triple distilled spirit. Mortlach still uses the old worm tubs instead of condensers, so there is less copper contact, as with the whole distilling process. It produces a meaty, robust, and spicy spirit. For that, Mortlach is known as the Beast of Dufftown. George's son, Dr. Alexander Cowie, worked with the famous distillery architect Charles Doig when they expanded Mortlach in 1897. It was an asset to be connected to the Strathspey Line Railway and also to be one of the first to have electrical lighting. Mortlach was the first licensed Speyside distillery in the famous Dufftown whiskey area. Well, welcome to Noel's World of Whiskey, and we are going to return to Mortlach, which I had done a review on this guy right here. That was the 16, and I picked up a 12, and a very good price on a 12, and they call this the Wee Witchy, and that is one of the stills I'd mentioned in the previous review. Yeah, very similar boxes. We get the white here, but anyways, long drive today. Did about 350 kilometers, and even got a bike ride in there. I like to break up when I'm going on a trip, I break it up with a little bit of exercise. So, and that makes it for a better day. I am going to show you this. Is the box it comes in. The reason I'm showing it to you is because this is the way that Dr. Alexander Cowie, and that was George Cowie's son, who was the engineer behind some of the distillery work, and of course it was his son, Dr. Alexander Cowie, that perfected the 2.81 distillation process. So you can see it right there. And yeah, so if you can figure that out, let me know how it works. This is it. Now, if they're adding coloring, boy, there's not a lot of coloring in this, but it is Diageo, so I'm not sure. It's a 43.4%, I believe, is what it's telling me here. 43.4. I did read it here someplace. 43.4%. And yeah, there it is. So if they are adding coloring, it's a small amount of coloring because it doesn't appear to have a lot of color in it. So anyways, there you are. And let's get into the pour. And we will give this guy a... And of course, I got to be careful. I did have a little bad luck with, I think that was the Napogue, where we had the we had the cork bust. Yeah, that wasn't was a bit of a shocker. I've had it happen a few times, so I think the corks aren't quite the quality what they used to be, but this one's sounding a little better. There, good cork. And these are bigger corks too. You can see it's just a bigger diameter. And I haven't had the big diameter corks ever break. It's the small diameter ones that seem to break. Anyways, let's pour a dram here and we'll let it sit for a bit. And again, I had reviewed the 16. I gave 16 a very good review, questioning the chill filtering and that. We never did get the right information on that, though I think Ralphie said yes, but I'm not sure where his source was. But there was never any information on that I could find. I did a lot of research on it, so but I still gave it a good mark because you know what? It's a good whiskey, and that's that. So we will give this a little bit of a nose. Getting some pears right off the bat. So just to let you know, this was aged in American bourbon casks, white oak and ex-bourbon casks, and I believe charred barrels. And then it was also, because their process is different, they have it's a triple distilled process, or 2.81, but they do bring back some of the tails. So we are getting, you're getting the cut, the middle cut, but you're also getting the tails as well. So that does give it a different kind of taste. And we talked about the worm tubs and that with Mortlach. Again, I think there's a dozen, there's a little over a dozen, maybe there's 14 right now, 14 distilleries that are still using worm tubs. Well, actually, there's a couple of new ones that have installed worm tubs. I believe Ardno on Isla, on Northern Isla there, I believe they've got worm tubs. And but anyways, the process on Mortlach is 2.81. I found with the 16 that for a 2.81 distillation process, it was heavier than like a lot of the triple distill that I drank, in terms of a lot heavier body to it. So anyways, back to the nose. So there is some nose here, all right. I'm getting it's kind of a buttery, nutty, almost like cocoa, and again, citrus notes there with it. I'm getting also a wee bit of leather, and also, that amphora tobacco that I always talk about, sale amphora, the pipe tobacco. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So, to the palate, Solange. Boy, it's got that signature, Mortlach signature. You have the 16, there's right off the bat. And I don't know if there's a little bit of maybe sulfur notes that I'm picking up in a good way. But, geez, almost like for a brief moment there, I was going to say a smoky hot dog. A little bit of that going on with like a traditional smoky that you do in over a campfire or over a barbecue. No, definitely, yeah. I don't know if it's maybe a bit of garlic they throw in that, or cheese. Probably the cheese is what it is. Kind of like, yeah, that's what it is. A cheese smoky. But I'm getting the sweet notes. The vanilla, and that'd be from the wood. I'm going to have to top that off. Yeah, it's amazing how that leather comes out. And it's not bad. But, I mean, it's you don't really think of tasting leather, but you do if you've ever been in a leather shop, or you've worked with leather like I have. You've been around horses. You've been around saddles. I've done a lot of leather work when I was younger, and you actually taste the leather, even though you're not chewing on it. You taste it in your mouth there, and you can smell it. And that's the kind of leather that I'm getting out of it. But I'm going to stay with the cheese, the cheese smoky there. I think that's a. I've been trying to identify with the other Mortlach, and this one came big right away. It's kind of interesting, but with that, of course, your dominant citrus, pears, right off the bat. That's the first thing I mentioned was pears, peaches. I'm waiting for the sherry notes to hit here, but I'm getting, and I'm not disappointed, but I'm not getting so much the sherry notes here. I'm getting more of the pear, peach, citrus, apple going on here. We did a savory stuff going on too. Savory notes there. So, but I'm going to go for the finish. Now I'm acquiring a taste for this because I'm really. I kind of the 12 here. I'm quite impressed with it so far. 43.4. There's lots of body to it. There's lots going on here. So I'm going to say that the finish is going to be short medium, and maybe closer to medium. It's coating my mouth. There was a wee bit of sulfur, but again, it's mixed in with the smoky. So that could be the charred barrels. I don't know how much peated barley they use. I didn't get a breakdown. I did quite a bit of research on it. I didn't get a breakdown if they're using the peated barley with it. Remember, there's a few casks that go on here, and then you have the wee witchy, that third still that's involved. So if you look at my other review there on the 16 there, I mention it. So the process, but you can also research this, and it is a complicated process. Their distillation, and they do. Something different than a lot of the other distilleries in that they wear your cut, your middle cut, and then the rest of it goes back into the feed net, or it gets redistilled, and they feed the tails into the wee witchies. So. It's just a different process, and it gives it a different kind of body and a different taste, and kind of like some of the other, like the Craig Gallicies and that have a unique taste. Loch Lomond has an interesting, and where do they get that from? And the sulfur, Glenfarclas, the sulfur notes, etc. But and of course that has a lot to do with the copper purification too. So if you pull out of the copper purification a bit, you back off from it, and then you start seeing these other notes come in. And I believe that's one of the things that happens with Mortlach, is that the copper conversation isn't as great as it would be with, let's say, something like maybe, which I just recently did, a topping tool. So anyways, nice finish. It's just kind of leaving right now. There was a coating on my mouth. We're going to throw some water in here. At 43.4, why not? Let's see what happens. Now, there's mixed reviews on this, and you know, I read them, and you know, everybody's got a little bit different palate, and some were really good, excellent reviews with some, and some were more critical. One didn't even recommend it, and he's a guy I actually, you know, I read his stuff all the time, so I don't agree with him right at this point. That's how this review's going. But who knows? I haven't gone through the review yet. But there were some really good reviews too. So, you know, so you know, was it all over the place? I think there was more good reviews on this than there were negative reviews. So, quite a bit, definitely more good reviews on it. So. Oh, does that bring out the pears and the apple, peaches, and you know, there's strong vanilla notes in here too, and the leathers in the background. Not as much of the sulfur going through. They're very, very slight. I'm still getting a little of that cheesy stuff that was going on with the smokies there. No, there's the leather. Anyways, the palate with water. Now, one of the reviews said that the water drowned it. Well, I just did a couple of drops and definitely didn't drown it. It's sweet. We've got... the pears came through very, very, like, boom. Slight bit of leather in the background. I still got a coating on my mouth. And I'm going to say the savory notes are lightened up a bit with the water, that's for sure. I'm not getting any bitterness. And again, you see the difference in my palate to his palate, because he was talking about getting bitterness. Well, I'm not getting it. So when we do these reviews and that, we do what we are, the sensations we get on our tongue and in our mouth and of course our nose, and that's the best we can do. And mine is obviously different than his, but the majority of the reviews I read were similar to what I'm about to say. So I'm finding that the water does seem to sweeten it a bit, and it does bring out those fruit flavors. But again, I'm not getting so much the sherry fruit. I'm getting more your sweet wood. You know, you're getting the citrus notes, the vanilla, and I'm going to stay with the leather. The leather's still there. So I'm going to have, this one's for me. I'm going to say the water didn't hurt it. Would I always add water? If I did, I would add just a couple drops. That's all it needs. But I like this. This is a nice dram. Now I'm going to tell you what I paid for this. I picked this up. It was $20 off at BC Liquor Store. So I paid 60, I don't know, was it 67 or 69? I paid somewhere in that range. In the high 60s is what I paid. Now remember, that's Canadian. And in Canada, we pay a lot for Scottish whiskey, Scotch. So that's a good price for something that is as good as this. So that's definitely indicative of what my score is going to be. I'm going to say that this is definitely, it deserves at least an 83. I feel that it's for the price, and I wasn't expecting this. I was figuring an 81, 82 or something, but 82, 83 is, you know, where I would be, and I would say 83 at this time is where I really feel that what the whiskey deserves, because I'm looking at the price. I'm looking also at the fact that, yeah, it's probably chill filtered. I'm also trying to get a fair score for a whiskey that I like. And I do like this stuff. It's a 12-year-old. I've done the 16, for gosh sakes, and I think this is an 83. So I'm going to stay with it. That's my score. And if you can get a deal like I did there, I recommend this. I definitely recommend it. In fact, I'm going to be phoning a few friends on this when I found out that they were able to bring this in and knock $20 off the price. I think it's a heck of a deal. So there you are. That is my review on the 12 Mortlach recommended. A nice whiskey. Definitely for the price. So I'm going to ask you to drink wisely, drink intelligently, do not drink and drive. Until the next time, so long.